Hello, Beyond listeners. It's your host, Dr. Flora. I am so excited for you guys to be listening to this guest episode. We have today Dr. Pinkey Patel. Dr. Pinkey is on a mission to revolutionize maternal health care for families. She is an accomplished mama of two with a very impressive background. Y'all ready? Here we go. She is an experienced clinical pharmacist, an NASM-certified personal trainer, pre- and postnatal corrective exercise specialist, and the CEO and founder of an AI-powered maternal and postpartum app called Myri. Myri is a Techstars portfolio company powered by Google. And, she was inspired after having trouble accessing quality maternal and postpartum care after her first child. Pinkey set out on a mission to create an affordable, accessible solution where moms could find outcome-oriented, science-backed resources, offering a better, safer option for all of us. Hi, everyone. You are listening to Beyond, and I'm your host, Dr. Flora. Listen, life is hard. You don't have to do it alone. As a mindset coach, physician, mom, and an infertility warrior, I have mastered techniques to help move you towards contentment and growth. I can't wait to go along with this crazy-ass life journey with you while making sure you feel like your best self. This podcast is meant to have you feel unstuck from your rut and less alone. Let's do this. Pinkey, welcome to the Beyond podcast. I am so excited. One, because I love talking to you. You're so real. You're so authentic. I've been following you forever. We met in real life, I think for the first time last year. And it was just like, we vibed. I love it. Not that I actually expected anything different though.
Thank you for having me. It was last year in February. We met on the other side of the country.
That's right. That's a whole different story, my friends.
Yes,
we'll get into that later. So let's just start with your background. I mean, I love hearing everyone's backstory up. I mean, you're making such major moves, moving forward, but I love hearing everyone's backstory to, what brought you to this point where you are now the founder, the CEO of a startup company, Techstars portfolio company backed by Google. Tell me, Pinkey in college, what was your vision, kind of your future vision of yourself at that time?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I've loved following you for years. I'm so glad we got to meet in real life. And I'm so honored to be on this podcast because I know it'd be a fun conversation. We always keep it real, I feel like, between us, whether it's a screaming voice note from me with my children in the background. So I'm always grateful for you accepting the authenticity. In college, being a child of an immigrant, just like you and maybe a lot of our listeners potentially, the thing was I had to become a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, or something like that, right? I grew up in a motel, lived in a motel. We were typical hospitality, Patel motel. If you don't know what that is, guys, look it up. It's a whole thing. And so in high school, I graduated as valedictorian. I also was an all-state choir singer. I don't think a lot of people know that about me.
I did not know that. Okay, yeah. You're going to have to sing something for me.
No. My husband would be like, girl, you have not sang in so long and you sang on a podcast. You will be distraught. So no, I was doing all those things to get like a scholarship and to go to school. And so in college, I also did a few pageants to get scholarship money. Like I did all of that funding on my own. And so in college, Pinkey was starting to pick up some weights. She accidentally won a pageant, had to go to Miss Oklahoma. So I was like, I got a trainer. I should maybe use them for something. And me being trying to save money, then I was like, you just show me what to do and then I'll go home and do it. I would write it down. And that's when I kind of fell into the whole fitness aspect of, dang, this is actually really cool. Like I can eat more food. there was some instances there where I was like, the society just was different. Like we grew up in a different world. We were like, okay, smaller is better. But I was like, this is cool. I want to look like that. And so that fitness journey kind of started, which then brought me to as I was in pharmacy school. So I did that whole medical thing, right? I fell in love with so many aspects of fitness, which then brought me to a lot of questions in pre and postnatal care from an anatomy perspective. You know, when you're in healthcare, you question a lot of that. And so at the time, I was like, hey, I'm going to become a pharmacist. I'm going to probably 10 years from now, which is so funny. I hate having those. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because that's changed like so much. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a manager, like a pharmacy, like CVS. That was at CVS. I was like, I'm out of retail. Anything to get me out of retail.
Retail pharmacy is a whole different ball game. And I mean, even if you're not in medical healthcare, I mean, just going to a retail pharmacy as a patient,
As a consumer, yes.
as a consumer, like you can only imagine the beast that it is. All right, sorry.
And I did that too. I was an intern. Well, since I was 16, that was like my first job. I'm not an intern. I was a technician. That's how I started.
Mhm.
That paid like it got me some summer money. And then when I started working in, I was like, okay, I think I need a different role in pharmacy. I loved it though because I was fulfilled by helping other people. Nothing wrong with retail pharmacists. My respect for people who are in retail pharmacy, we're like ninjas. We're like, here's a shot, here's a counseling,
Yep.
counting like pills, making sure the C2 cabinets.
Mhm.
I mean, it's insane. And so not having a lunch though every day, not like that really wore me out. So that's where I thought I was gonna go. But everything that happened up until that point was a lever in my now journey, and I didn't know that. If you told me I was going to be a startup founder, then I would have laughed in your face and spit my water out. Like, just that is not where I thought what I was going to head. I've got on Instagram 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and it was just like a little bitty box of pictures. And I just started posting like my love for fitness and bodybuilding. That built a community through authenticity because the community that I built there through me being vulnerable and sharing like this day really sucks. I'm sitting in a rocking chair and this is not what I thought motherhood would be like. And there's got to be someone out here that is resonating with this. Thousands of DMs, thousands of moms. I
Mhm.
stopped feeling so crappy by being like, I feel so shameful that everybody's smiling and I don't like any bit of this. And then I learned people were just like me. And then I was like, wait a minute, we're onto something here. So, there was a time where I was working full time for United Healthcare and I had a plastic table I was working off of because we just moved into our new home. And then there was a stand desk on the ground. And there's a router hanging out of the wall. I saved this picture because we didn't even have time to fix anything because we were just trying to survive in the pandemic. So all that to say, every day there's a story that gets you there. But every day I was like doing the regular work, doing the kid work. We're in the pandemic, but I could not stop doing what I was doing on the side. Myri wasn't even called Myri then. Everybody knows if they've been around for
Yeah.
a while what it was called. And then it just kept pulling me. Like people were finding value, and I was like, Pinky, if you don't give this a shot, the rest of your life you're going to wonder like, why did you not give it a try?
I'm hearing you've always been a woman that hustles. Like I heard it all the way from like the beginning when you were talking about scholarships, pageants, and it sounds like you've always been like a go-getter. Like you see something, you see a gap in knowledge, right? Even personal
Yeah.
knowledge. And
Right.
you see a gap in the community and you go for it. I love that. Let me give you another perspective. Like on the flip side, I've always been that, but I never was a action oriented person. I saw the gaps, personally, community, but I was riddled in the fear of risk taking,
Yeah.
and it was so prevalent within my upbringing, within our community, like follow this straight path within medicine,
Yes.
engineering, law, right? Do whatever you want within that, make lots of good money,
Yeah.
raise a family, and you're done. Live happily ever after. And so I did that. And then I'm like, hit with infertility, hit with burnout within medicine, hit with a bunch of shit that
Yeah.
life throws. That's
Yes.
not out of the norm, by the way. And so I resonate when you said, okay, I felt so alone. I felt so isolated. I know there are other people that may be feeling the same way, let me
Yeah.
share
Yeah.
my vulnerability. That's why I love you. I love the moments where I do see where you do have like the kid in the background, you're working, you're dressed in sweats on the bottom, suit on the top.
Always.
Like, I love it.
And I think it's important to show that. But I also, I'm action oriented, but let me tell you, whenever you're a healthcare professional, we are so structured. 1 + 1 = 2. It does not equal 3, and there's no gray. It better be black or white, or I'm gonna lose my shit. And I
Yeah.
really struggle with that. Nobody really knows this, but in 2018, I invested a lot of money in myself and my mental growth to get to that launch. And I thought I was crazy. I'm like, sorry, babe, I'm going to drop some money on this, and I think I'm going to need it, or else I am mentally not going to weather this. So I think it's really important to shed light that I just wake up and go, action oriented, we're going to go do this. It was a
Mm-hmm.
investment within myself to go to growth experts that that were not in my kind of community, that didn't look like me, to really empower me and be like, this is a mindset. So that growth mindset only came with investment in myself, and I've never actually done that. I was scared to death because at the beginning, we're in the middle of a pandemic. I built this and I launched it while I was pregnant with Arjun, the beta 3 weeks before. There's an entire video where my water breaks, and I'm thanking everyone. My water broke that evening, and I'm like, thank you so much. We have had so much success, and you're also questioning yourself because you're like tooting your own horn, but also feeling imposter syndrome. I feel that way right now. This very week, I've been like, oh my God, we have so much to share, but I still feel like it's not good enough to share. And so even then I was like having that weird feeling, like there's a baby in my stomach. He's kicking like crazy. I think it's gonna come out in like 10 hours. And I'm like, thank you so much. Everything's so great. But I'm like, I'm scared. So it
Yeah.
debilitated my mental health. I looked like it. Yes, she's action oriented. Yes, she's going after it. But the fact that to get to the mental state of, okay, guess what? Just do it. You can go back and get another job, right? It's like,
Yes, you hit on such a good point there. So first of all, so many gems with what you just said. First of all, regardless of your natural, I'm going to say quote unquote natural personality tendencies, I
yeah.
want every listener right now to recognize the difference between me and Pinkey, and how, yes, we're both South Asian, yes, we're both women, yes, we're both Gujarati, yes, we both have probably traditional upbringing mindsets.
Mm-hmm.
But as a natural action go getter, as a natural not so action go getter, but both thinkers and creatives, we're
Mm-hmm.
still building businesses. We still did the traditional, quote unquote, traditional pathways,
Yeah.
and we still are making career transitions or additions with having a team, with developing a
Yes.
growth mindset, with having help. This is not done alone. And you're right, this is a process. I didn't mean to
Yes.
allude to that this, you woke up one day and
Oh,
developed
for
this.
sure. No,
I've
no.
seen your journey, and I've seen your journey in the last, 5-7 years, where
Yeah.
it's been slowly building and you're making major moves. Again, 50-foot view, right? It's taken such a
Yeah.
long time
Yeah.
to get to where you are. And we got so many amazing things coming your way. I cannot wait for you to share whenever the time comes and whenever the timing is right. Another thing that you pointed out was imposter syndrome, which is such a hot topic. It's something that I coach on the regular. Imposter
Mhm.
syndrome is normal. It
Yeah.
is normal to feel doubt,
Yep.
angst, the feeling that you may not be good enough, that you may not belong. If you don't have imposter syndrome, I mean, you may have narcissism. Like, it is like, it is a psychological
Yeah.
normalcy. But what you do with the imposter syndrome, that is the difference. And so the
Yeah.
fact that you are recognizing it, the fact that you are utilizing that imposter syndrome to just double down on your purpose, educate yourself, and keep working towards your goal, towards that purpose. I mean, again, it takes some time to build, but I
I mean,
think that's
J-Lo even talks about imposter syndrome, for crying
yeah,
out loud, at the age of 50
crazy,
some odd, right? And it's like,
crazy.
then when I feel that, I'm just like, Pinky, stop, get off LinkedIn right now. I play the LinkedIn game because I'm a founder. I have to
Yeah,
always toot my horn. I talk to investors, I talk to clients. I do sales, I do HR. We're
yeah.
blessed. I've expanded our team, and I have awesome like technology leadership now and all those things. But LinkedIn is still where you're a founder and you're like shooting your. The minute I open that to go do my thing, I'm like, oh my God. Everyone's just like, I am thrilled to announce that I'm da, 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 da. And I'm like, I'm thrilled to announce that I suck at that right now. Then I have to just close it, post it, get off. So
Yeah,
some of those
we have to prioritize ourselves.
we
Absolutely. And
do. It's like my
continue to
little
do that.
toolkit. And one of
Yeah.
my biggest toolkits is like entrepreneurship is an obsession. It's a crazy obsession. And you also question like, I want to be present for my kids, but I wouldn't be here if I wasn't an entrepreneur, but they're watching me grow up. And so
Yeah.
I think, I struggle with that as well. Because the obsession is like you see something that nobody else sees, but it's never existed before.
Yes.
So I'm just like, I have to go back to my like kind of my toolkit of like Pinky, take a 50 feet view out and go to the gym and listen to Lil Wayne and screw everyone.
I love
Literally,
your playlist. I
screw.
love your workout
Thank
playlist. For
you, Nikki.
anyone
Always.
who doesn't follow Pinky on Instagram, she has an amazing workout playlist and completely
Yeah.
separate. But I love that you share that aspect on social media, regardless of the platform. It kind of leads me to my next question. We're obviously on completely different paths when it comes to business building, but I agree with you when you say it's an obsession, whether it's from a creative perspective, a business aspect, it's constantly running in the back of your brain. Personally, I took a step back from clinical medicine almost a year to the day, a year ago.
Oh, wow.
Where I'm like, I am burnt out. I can't do coaching, launch a podcast, practice medicine full time. I can't, it's impossible. Burned myself out. I took a non-medical leave for 4 weeks, unpaid, just
I remember
to
that whenever
get
you did that.
my shit together. I just needed to get my head on straight, spend some time with my child and my husband, like the simple things, right?
It's because the whole time you were burning on fumes. You're like, fumes.
Yes. So once I started to kind of fill my cup with like, I don't want to say mundane things, but the simple things, right? Making my bed, walking my child to school, driving her to her activities, making food.
It's basic things that allow your brain to then regain creativity because that is your secret sauce. When I'm not creative, I'm out. You have lost your founder creativity. You've lost Instagram creativity, like all of it. And it's so important to do mundane shit.
Absolutely. Especially if and you don't have to be at the point of burnout. You can just feel blah, like like you're in a rut, which is normal, by the way. I also want to stress that like we are human, not robots. So it's okay to go up and down in moods and motivation. But what habits are you building and what can you, that toolbox that we both allude to, what can you fall back on? So anyway, that being said, I understand, that obsession that's just constantly like cycling in the back of your mind. What is the perspective of the assumed perspective of your kids and your husband, your family, while you are hustling, making moves?
Yeah. So my husband is
how
the
has
biggest.
That balance been?
He's my biggest supporter. He's the one who pushed me to do this when it was the snapback, because I was like, I'll never ever forget this. When I was at growth stage, I was talking about my obsession with Sarah Blakely, and I do like joke that I'm going to show up at her door and she'll never know until I show up. But it's going to happen. And then I was listening to her podcast, and like everything she was doing initially, like I had all these ideas and I wouldn't tell anybody unless I trusted them, and I'd put them in a notebook, and just like what she was doing, I was doing. He sat me down in our old house on a sofa, and he's like, there's two ways your life can go. You can keep doing this pharmacy thing and think about this other thing all the time, or you can go after this and go try it and give it a shot. And I'll be there for both. So he's always been like, he steps in as sales. We have a salesperson who manned 2 booths for me last year because I was like, I don't have anybody here. So you put on this Myri shirt and you better watch this video. Look at all the sales, because we've pivoted so much. And he's there talking Myri, and they're like, this is yes, he's my husband, but he's also relationship development. We'll play any part together.
Correct.
So that's how he looks at it. He has, mentioned, he's like, this is taking a toll on you. And we stop and take a step back. And there's a whole podcast one day I can do about a few items I've never talked about ever in public in terms of mental health. But I think I'm finally at that point where I can at some point.
We'll do a part 2, girl. All right. We'll figure this out for season 2.
It is very, very deep. But it was one of those points. It's like, the obsession, took a toll on my body, my mental health, like it was a lot. And so he thinks that the world of me, And he thinks if anybody's going to get it done, it's going to be you because nobody knows your work ethic and they can sit here and doubt it all you want. But they're like, no one works like you. But he's also like, do you know what this is doing to you? And my kids, Karishma just asked me when the next feature is out. We're actually building like an AI bot too, along with a lot of stuff in Myri. And she's like, so what does that look like? And when's it coming out? And she's like, oh, mom works for Myri. So like the way she talks about it now versus what she talked about when she was like 3 and watched me.
How old is she now, just for those who don't know?
She's 8 now. And I built
Crazy.
I built the initial company like at the beginning, the roots of it when she was like 2.5, 3, when Arjun was coming out of me, literally. Like she would sit by the like she looks like, mommy, when is he coming out? And I was like, I don't know, just give me 2 more days. I got to finish some things on this. So, being in labor while also holding a laptop in your hand is probably psychotic. And then calling your chiropractor over and having her adjust you during labor so you don't have as much pain while another laptop is next to you is also pretty psychotic. So she was there for a lot of it. Arjun, he's 4. And so he just knows that mommy has to work, and I feel guilty. And I know I hate the word guilt because like I'm committing a crime, but I'm not committing a crime. But I do have that little pit in my stomach. He doesn't understand what I'm doing. But I feel, last summer I moved my entire family to another city.
But can you explain why you moved everybody? What were you doing, Pinkey?
Yeah, I know. So Techstars is a global accelerator, and Techstars is something, if you get into it, it's like top 1% of companies get in, 2% of women get capital, and 0.6% of women of color. And I was like, hey, Pinky's got to do this to get the experience, to be in this network. And if you get in, I got rejected 3 times before. And so I was like, we just got into this. We're moving. It's right in the middle of summer and it's 3 months. It's not hybrid. So I did it. And we moved into an Airbnb, but they were 6 and 3. And I snuck Arjun into daycares. Not snuck him in, but was like, oh, he's potty trained, just to get him in somewhere that we liked.
I remember that story.
And the house that we were staying in is not even as nice what we live in. And so it was older. And I was like, my parents had to come up and help me move twice. They were like, girl, what are you thinking? And we all had to sleep together on the floor. So it was a lot, right? They've been through a lot, but I think in long term, they'll think like one day their mom didn't give up. And I hope that they keep that with them. Because I do think that our parents didn't give up when they came here. And it's so funny. I'm over here crying about driving up 2 hours and living in an Airbnb, but they switched countries.
Yeah. They moved across the world.
Across the world. So I'm like, hopefully one day my kids will look back and think, well, mom had no F's given and she pushed through, and maybe I just need to have some more faith in myself.
Yeah, they will. And I know you've probably seen this click every now and then with Grishma and Arjun, but we sit there and we do our thing and we, grind and we rest, and then we, are there with our families, and they see that cycle, they see the ups and downs. I think it's actually a good thing to a certain extent, obviously,
I agree.
According to developmental, abilities. Yeah. But I think it's okay to show our kids the ups and downs of what we are doing. And even if you're not starting a new business or going through this career change, you are still going to have ups and downs of your life. And it's okay, again, within reason, within developmental reason, to kind of be vulnerable with your children. It shows them that it's okay to have hardship, and yet here we are, still content, happy, moving forward, because we have each other and we have our purpose and we have everything that our families, our parents have built into us, right? That work ethic, the gratitude, all the things that we've developed ourselves, right? Through coaching and mindset growth, it putting everything together in this beautiful package that is us, and
it is
passing that along to our kids.
I think there's also something to be said about the fact that we were always the way I grew up, it's everything I had to be perfect. I was, it was there's also that grind hustle culture that is unfortunately in my DNA that I'm trying to deconstruct, because she needs to know that you don't have to kill yourself to do everything. But I also want her to be able to have conflict resolution, be able to manage her emotions, know when to slow down, know when to speed up, and just be able to navigate that better, because I didn't have that growing up. And I had to teach myself. Well, I had to
Speaking
unteach
of
myself things. Yeah.
right. Yeah. We had to unteach all the things that even within healthcare, right? I think
Yeah.
the mentality was that the patient, the customer, we sacrifice for them. And that
Mhm.
sacrifice could turn into our own physical and mental health well-being.
Yeah.
Even, during residency, whether it's pharmacy or physician resident, like the hours are nuts. The
Oh yeah.
demands are crazy. They're inhumane. And then on the flip side, at least, I had some sort of light support from my residency program, but there are so
Oh,
many programs out there that don't have
yeah.
like a backup, that don't have anyone to go to, but that's a whole different conversation.
And you
But
and
speaking,
your residency was way more tough than, like, pharmacy school
mhm,
is 6 years, right? And so there's so much more demand in the field that you're in. But I just feel
yeah,
like
it's
what you
crazy.
do then is you're like, oh, nothing. You're in school. You don't have a husband for the most part. Typically,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
younger. You don't have children. Your parents aren't as
Hmm.
aging, right? The
Yeah.
demand shifts so much when you're like sandwich generation, children, husband, for
Yeah.
you a dog. That's so freaking cute.
Yeah.
And so it's like all of those things, and then you layer the other side on, and you're like, how are you physically supposed to do all this?
Yeah, that's a really good call out. I think as South Asian women, I know for me, the thought was, um, you know, learn how to cook, clean, take care of a household. Oh, by the way, go ahead and have a full-on career because you have to be an X, Y, and Z. And when I got to this point, thank God I married someone who was not raised similarly, because that
Yeah.
would have been a very difficult gender role conflict that we needed to work through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I mean, I still remember I was in residency. We were married. We got married right after medical school and
Okay.
moved states and started a residency right away. And so, not only did we just move in together, get married, move, start a new job, those are major life changes that
I
maybe
was still in
not
pharmacy
everyone
school
should.
when I got married. Nobody knows
Yeah,
this.
like we
And I
shouldn't
moved in.
we shouldn't go through this all at the same time.
Yeah, and I was like, and then I moved in. I moved out at 17. I quit living with people. And then I moved in with my in-laws, all of us in a joint household. And so,
Oh,
and
interesting.
so I actually did my last year with them. And so it was a different dynamic. Like, it's like you were not used to living like that. And it was a big change for me. And I'm not going to
Of
sugarcoat it.
course.
Like, they're wonderful, but it's also like, hold up. I can't even
Yeah.
like handle my own parents in my house right now. So it's like
Yeah,
it was a hard
absolutely.
transition. And so it's a
Well,
lot
so
layered
speaking
on.
of like culture and upbringing, I mean,
Yeah.
have you and knowing what is the norm in our Desi culture, have
Yeah.
you encountered any judgment or any hardships from the outside in? I
Yeah.
know you don't give two shits about what everybody thinks. You know what your purpose is and you're going to go for it. But
For
I
sure.
would
No,
love
no, but
to delve into that.
it affected me. We didn't just I didn't just come out of my 20s going, I don't give a F. Just now I'm able to say I really don't care. But when
Yeah.
I first got married, we all my parents know my in-laws too. Like, we all grew up together. I felt like had a crush on my husband at the time since I was like 9. And
So cute.
he didn't even give two craps about me. It was like this girl. Like, we did a little dance together. So my dad told my mother, he's like, so I'm just gonna tell you straight up, my daughter doesn't know how to cook the typical Indian meal. And like, that's funny because my mom we opened the first Indian grocery store in the city, and my mom used to cook like samosa, and we used to sell them. So you would think I would know of anybody how to do any of this, but they're like, she doesn't do that. And so and it was like straightforward. And I think people look at me and they think I should be doing a certain thing, or people have made comments, whether it's on my weight or what I've done. I lost a lot of weight when I was in pharmacy school due to stress, and I was also not eating enough, thinking I just need to like do cardio, count my calories. That's a whole nother
Mhm.
conversation.
Yeah.
All that to say, even that commentary of like, oh God, are you stressed? You lost so much weight. I got told that the other day. I was like,
Mhm.
probably I'm stressed. Yeah, I'm stressed all the time. I don't know. I'm trying to
Mhm.
do my thing. So those comments are not welcome, and I will call people out
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of outsiders that look in. Whether when I started bodybuilding, there was a lot of judgment
I bet.
around what is she doing sitting on with it wearing a swimsuit, jacked on stage
Mhm.
with a big tan.
Mhm.
What is she doing leaving pharmacy? Does she play on a computer now? Because I don't really talk about all the
Mhm.
details. Oh, some people actually say, oh, she's just a fitness girl. And I'm like,
Wow.
yeah, I get
know.
that all, like, because we live in Oklahoma, so there's a lot of there's a lot of Indians here, right? But
Yeah.
and believe it or not, nobody ever thinks that there's a big Indian community. But
We
they'll
are
think that
everywhere. That's all I've
we're
just
everywhere. They think I'm a fitness girl because I'm on the internet. So it's just comedy at this point. But I like just have a shield, just like you're supposed to have boundaries. I'm like, I'm out. See ya.
Yeah. I think there's a certain sense of like, I mean, we do have to develop a thick skin when we put ourselves out there, over any form of public platform,
Oh yeah.
whether it's through, getting investors, building a business, or on social media. But yeah,
Yeah.
there are a ton of assumptions that fly within closed-minded people, really. And
Yes.
even non-closed-minded people, right? It is human nature to make assumptions. And so, but the fact that it would definitely get to me if comments were negating all of the blood, sweat,
Oh yeah.
tears
Yeah.
that you were putting in.
Yeah. And at that point, I'm very like, okay, I'm not engaging with you, right? It's like
It's too much
there's no
energy.
room. It's too much energy. And before I didn't know how to
Yeah.
navigate that as well. It was like everything used to get to me. And
Yes,
I think it's practice makes perfect, right? It's like flexing a muscle
absolutely.
in your body. You have to flex the brain and how
Hmm.
you're gonna be agile in some of these things. 'Cause when it hits you, you're like, did what? Okay. Like you're processing for a second, then you're like, okay, I'm out. Because it's not worth your
Yeah,
energy anymore.
totally. And I teach this all the time with boundaries. You don't have to fight everything because
No,
it is too much energy. It's too many emotional roller coasters within a very short period of time where it ends up burning you out. It's exhausting fighting everything. Now, there is a time and place to, fight your battles and to speak up for yourself and
there
to
is.
defend yourself. But does it have to be on the random auntie down the street that doesn't know exactly who you are and what you're
Right.
doing? No, probably not. Yeah.
No, and there's a lot of assumptions. So when I go to events and, I'm constantly hustling, like I'm with investors, I'm selling all the things and I've been told before, there's not even an Indian thing. They're like, "Oh, well, you just look like so put together and you have it all going on." And so I think like since you're just so polished and people think that like she has maybe they're assuming she has so much money, right? If I had so much money, I'd be rolling in it, not worrying about the next the next milestone that we're hitting. This is beyond that. But the assumption that I'm sitting on stage and my hair just happens to be this volume is and I'm wearing like a I don't know, TJ Maxx suit, like, and then you're assuming just because I put together and have confidence, I took time to develop confidence that everything just
Yes.
comes easy for me. I was told that from someone that was kind of advising us that this is how it comes off, and I was like, I am not the problem. They are the problem because they just put me in a box.
Yeah.
You put me in a pretty girl
Yes.
box, maybe them. Thank you so
Yes.
much for flattering me. You put this in this box of they don't have no idea what my upbringing was like. They have no idea where I come from. They have no idea what my mental health is like going through just to get to the next thing. But they've thought that I've just been handed everything because of my physical appearance. Yes, I prioritize fitness.
Mhm.
Yes, I prioritize looking, like it's not even looking. I just feel good. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't,
Yeah.
I don't like that. Yeah. And so that was
I mean,
very
your hair
recent.
looks gorgeous, by the way. You look like an Indian Barbie doll right now.
Well, thank you. Those are my T3 rollers that I just put in my hair this morning while I was yelling at
Love it.
Arjun. But
Love it. Love it.
but
But I
it's
think that's why I wanted to start with your backstory because at, your intro, it's freaking amazing, right? Like what you are working on is going places. I know it. That being said, it takes time. We only see the highlight of someone's life, whether it's in person or over social media, right? So in person, they saw the highlight Dr. Pinkey Patel coming in with her hair did and her outfit, and had no idea what happened
mm-mm.
literally 5 minutes before you walked into that room or on stage or
Right,
wherever you were, right?
right.
And so I always love to point out, even in person, unless you live with somebody or know the intimate details of their life, you are seeing what we are projecting. And obviously we would love to project our best selves. Why wouldn't we? I mean, especially in your position. Yeah. Important to look at that, again, 50-foot view. I think we hyper focus on, again, that highlight that we see. Someone sold their business for $1 billion. Well, that person also took,
Years.
years, right? Maybe a decade or more to build the company or to build to that point. And I
Yeah.
think it's important to ground ourselves in our purpose. It doesn't have to be anything life changing. If your
No.
purpose is to be there for yourself and your family, that is a strong enough purpose for you to live your life by. And
And
if
then
you have
come back
multiple
stronger.
purposes,
Yeah.
right? Yes, exactly. So I think it's important to kind of keep that purpose on at the forefront. Also put blinders on when you need to. You don't need to invite all of this energy
No.
just because it's there,
I've
right? If
started
someone wants to make
unfollowing
an
people
assumption, let them.
on LinkedIn. A founder just made a post actually. They were like, I'm really tired of saying to everybody just kill it. And I think my journey is my journey. And I need to he started unfollowing people on LinkedIn. I started doing that too. Because I'm like, I'm not
Yeah.
inviting this. It's not their fault that they're in that part of their journey. It's not my fault that I'm in part of my journey. I'm in my own lane doing my own thing. Probably going over speed bumps and cussing along the way, but I'm still in my own lane.
So, what advice do you have for any listener out there who's simply unhappy with where they're at? Whether
Yeah.
it's career, or I get a lot of DMs about, I hate where I am within, finding a partner, or it could be simple as like, look, I want to find a new job. I'm really unhappy with this environment versus I'm happy with my career choice. I want to make a full on career field change, but I'm 25, 35, 45, 55. I'm too old. I'm too far in. I'm too accomplished. I have too much money. Like, there's always an excuse, but let's simplify this. What advice do you have besides like, just go for it? That's obviously there's logistics involved.
There is. And I feel like, what is it? I quit 3 years ago and I'm about to be 39. Right. So looking back, think about that. I didn't even my 30s, I had entered motherhood. And I think there's something, I have so much respect for women who are like, I'm going to step back and I'm going to take 5 years off. And because God bless, we all know that's not an easy 5 years by yourself if you're managing all of that. So I have a lot of respect for people who can put pause and then come back. But I feel like if you're somebody like me who's just like, I don't know about this, and I had no chiller on then. I think there was something supercharged in my body when I was building Arjun. I was both building this. But it is truly, number one, find your why. If I did Myri for money, I would have quit a long time ago. Right. Yeah. So it's my why was like, man, I really think there's something here and that there's a way to defragment here, whether it's career, what's keeping you there. Yeah. Okay. If you're so unhappy, then take a class. And if you're really passionate about something, right? Like I said, I spent money on myself for growth, just plain growth to survive the last 5 years. And there's a certain investment that you could make in yourself. Even if it's small, there's so much knowledge on YouTube. I learned so much on YouTube at the beginning of this journey, raising capital, how to do all these things. I had to learn new terminology. I read books. And now I don't even have time to
they don't teach you this in pharmacy school, medical school.
No.
No one teaches you how to build a business or run a business, let alone start a start. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's your passion and your why. So that can be your first kind of okay, well, what do I love? Because whatever you love is you're going to stick around with, right? Whether it's career. And then you can build on that. And if you're the type of person to be like, all right, so I'm done in a year. No, man, we have pivoted so many times and I've questioned so many things. But at the end of the day, it's your why. Even if it's Instagram, right? It's sometimes we all get burnt out from it. We're like, God, the algorithm changed again, and they're so
I just posted about, I'm done with Instagram. I'm done with the just being stagnant.
We all go through that breakup with it, but then we're like, oh, we have these awesome people we meet because they're like, damn it.
Yes, that's how we met. Otherwise, I wouldn't know you.
So it's just kind of finding that passion and putting one foot out that you could somehow quantify. In 3 months, I've learned this much, right? And then kind of slowly transition, but you also have to look at how engaged do I want to be, and it's not one or the other. No amount of money in your bank account will be valuable compared to your mental health and peace.
You hit a good nerve in me, because when I was working full time, churning, this was pre-pandemic, while I was going through IVF, churning patients. I was financially very comfortable. Also, I'm married to another physician who's also doing well, but I was I was so unhappy and so
Yeah.
burnt out and so and I carried that with me, right? I carried that over to my household, to my friends, my
It
family.
overflows, like your bucket starts overflowing.
Yes,
You're like dropping your
absolutely.
unhappiness everywhere because you're like irritated.
Yes. Yes. It basically, it's like this virus that just takes over you.
Yeah, it
And
is.
I am making less. And yes, it is a hit to my ego, girl. Let me tell you, when after I cut back last year, I saw that first paycheck come in. I'm like, oh, that is
Ugh.
not me. Like
Yeah.
I make more than that. It was a huge wake up call. It was such a challenge to kind of adjust to. But then again, I went to my purpose. What is my purpose? So the first thing, what a piece of advice was, write down your purpose. Second piece of advice, start small. Like if it within your purpose, within the field, start with small steps. You mentioned YouTube. I mean, I built this podcast off of free YouTube videos that other people
Correct.
worked hard to provide because of their
Correct.
purpose. Like
It
it
doesn't have to
doesn't,
be
you
some
don't have to
crazy
make it hard.
thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Yeah, like you could
Yes.
literally
Yes.
you could learn on Instagram, on TikTok,
Mhm.
like, be cognizant of what you're learning on those platforms, but people be sharing some interesting stuff. But I feel like
Yeah.
there's access to education that does not have to
Yeah.
be true education now that
Yeah.
there never was before. Yeah.
Yeah. And then three, I heard be patient. Nothing is overnight. Even, becoming a pharmacist, becoming a physician, it didn't happen overnight. It was years of studying and schooling and practicing in order to get comfortable with where we're at. And then,
Yeah.
maybe pivoting a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
any challenges as an entrepreneur that you're surprised by?
Everything. Like, like number one, like being patient. Like I have to be aggressively patient. I'm very impatient. My children have taught me how to become more patient. People are like, you took that so easily with urgent. I would have lost my crap. I'm like, you're not a mother, huh? I was like, you don't have a choice.
Hmm.
Like, if they want to tie their own shoes and it's going to take 10 minutes, you won't let them tie their own shoes or it's going to go other
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things for me. It's like being aggressively patient. Sales cycles are longer. We now work, Myri is still available from others. We are now an AI powered pregnancy and postpartum platform. And I value my community for that being a sounding board for me. So I'm eternally grateful. But when we pivoted, these sales cycles are very long and you have to build relationships and change your product. And um, that is something I was very surprised by is like how long this would take. If I would have known it was going to be this hard, I don't think I would have done it because I'm in a lot of like, even currently, it's very difficult. And I've learned a lot about myself. And I've learned more in these last 3 or 4 years than I've ever learned in school. And so, the other piece is I didn't know how much my mind had to grow to be in rooms and be able to manage like some of these things, whether it's growth or sitting on a panel and talking about women's health, right?
Yeah.
And even like fundraising or my obsession right now is, or, if it's intersected with motherhood, I didn't know that I would feel certain emotions while
Oh.
having these roles. And so that emotion passes and you're like, I am a good mom. It's good. I'm doing good. You see all this stuff on
Mm.
Instagram and moms are telling you, hey, don't feel bad. I get it. That doesn't just come overnight. Like I've had to go, Pinky, stop feeling like crap, listen to more people. And I'm like, okay, I found a community that gets it, that are doing similar things, like starting new things. It doesn't have to be a business.
Mhm.
Um, and I had to lean in on just therapy. Like
Yeah.
and therapy for me was different after I had urgent versus what I'd go to it for now. Like I'm like, just, having her build some skill sets within me and like coping mechanisms on failure, the more opportunity for rejection. And rejection is redirection, right? Dealing with rejection, I did not know how to do that before.
All right. So, Pinky, I want listeners to know we've alluded to what Myri is, postpartum resource, but I want you to kind of run us through quickly. What does Myri offer? What will it offer?
Yeah, so Myri now you can download it right when you're pregnant. So there's that fluffy app that shows you the size of the baby. So everything from anonymous communities to evidence-based articles with every kind of specialist that you would need to know at that journey, like whether
Hmm.
you're wanting to learn about breastfeeding before actually on the other side, because breastfeeding is actually very difficult if you're trying to do it. For me, it's harder than my own 60-hour unmedicated labor. Um, But like, even from the point of pelvic floor therapy prior to the other side, one of the things that we coin ourselves on even before it over pregnancy was that every mother we should standardize pelvic floor therapy, not just have one appointment at 6 weeks postpartum,
Yes.
and just be cleared for every movement pattern. Whether I've seen women who have had pelvic organ prolapse with feeling like everything is falling out at Orange Theory because someone told them
Yeah.
you're good to go, which we're
Yeah.
actually approaching it as like evidence-based articles, the actual workouts, right? Like if you're for labor and delivery prep and for pelvic floor strengthening. And so we are leveraging you can build a birth plan in the application and we can send it to your provider. A lot of women, they don't know what you don't know. So until they've gone through that, oh, what is this? I don't even know what this was. One of the questions that I had is, why do we have the highest C-section rate in the entire world? World Health Organization says 10% is acceptable, 33% here. Really trying to drive down a lot of that. Soon we'll be, our AI will be able to, in the next 3 weeks, you can scan a picture of what you're eating. We'll be able to analyze the macronutrients and also provide suggestions. So we provide data analytics. We can sync with your applications, your wearables, your IoT devices. You can take a picture of your lab record, and we'll analyze all of that to give you your own care plan. So
That's cool.
Yeah, so whether either you're managing preeclampsia or preventing it, or gestational diabetes, we can connect with your blood pressure, blood sugar devices. All that to say, it's really to get a holistic picture of what your health is really like and giving you insights on your body. And then postpartum, we pick you up when it's really lonely. Whether it's doing a 3-minute diaphragmatic breathing workout to really strengthen the inner core. This whole world wants you to like get back into your old body, into your old genes, act like you didn't actually have a baby. And then later they're like, wait, why am I peeing on myself? And we're all joking about it, making YouTuber videos. It's common. Postpartum is also anonymous communities. Evidence-based articles will soon be in Spanish. We can be in 76 languages as we grow, but in the next few weeks we'll be live in Spanish as well. So really bridging that gap with accessibility and affordability. We're looking for research partners, piloting with health facilities and medical centers. You can find us through employers. So if you have an employer that you want to have pay for Myri, that's what we're doing with a lot of other employers. We can do that as well. And one day your health insurance will pay for it.
Pinkey, I'm so proud of you. Like, everything that this app is going to offer, as a primary care physician and as someone that I see my patients postpartum, not for postpartum checkups, but to continue their primary care goals. These are such common pain points that I see in my patients. And the fact that there isn't enough education out there, I think we're getting there, right? Compared to like 5-10 years ago, but there still isn't enough evidence-based education that is being given to our patients. I think this is going to be phenomenal. I think it's going to be such a useful asset, not only for physicians, right? Because in our current healthcare system, even our OBGYNs, we have a very limited amount of time with each one of our patients. And we're also getting pressures, if we're an employed doctor, to see more, do more, and be the best at everything.
I think you're going to be excited about this because we can also soon we'll be able to integrate with EHRs. And we know that you have to see a bajillion patients in a day. You would love to spend time individually with each one. The mother on one end is wanting more of your time. You on the other end that's just how healthcare is set up. So we're also working with doulas and care providers, not to add an extra software, but to give the provider and the community healthcare worker or doula a snapshot of that mom's healthcare before something goes wrong. And it's not just like, okay, I saw my doctor, whatever happens after that session is on a piece of paper. Maybe they'll tell you about it. Maybe they won't. So really, we're two things. We can be a SaaS platform for, a provider or a doula or a community healthcare worker, or it could just be the platform itself can provide improved birthing outcomes and preterm labor. A lot of this is you just don't know what you don't know. Google is not always the place to go. And so, I just love the fact that we work with counties, we work with middle of nowhere, Kansas, and it's better than getting a flyer that ends up in the back of your van under some Cheetos, and you get evidence-based resources. So that's what kind of keeps me going, is being able to give mothers something in their own power to be able to make decisions.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited, one, for from the patient perspective. I'm so excited from a healthcare provider perspective. I think it's going to be a wonderful tool. Pinkey, thank you so much for taking the time amid a very busy life, juggling
Hey, you
everything that you're
too. Thank you
juggling
for
to
having
be
me.
here. Of course, of course. Just to summarize, we hit on a lot of wonderful topics. One, how the growth mindset is a learned thing. So no matter your upbringing, your background, your natural personality tendencies, you can get to where you want to. It is a form of growth, and it is a learned ability. We talked about the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, the judgment that may come, imposter syndrome, holding boundaries with yourself and with that negative energy, how you are juggling motherhood, and it's not a walk in the park. There are hard times, there are guilty times, but you digging down in your purpose, which it was a great piece of advice, I think will help remove a lot of the lingering that tends to happen with those negative emotions. I can't wait for our listeners to hear it, to listen to it, to take all the advice and literally fly with it. So thank you, Pinkey.
Yes,
I really, really appreciate
thank you for
everything.
having me. I've always enjoyed all the new work you're doing. I'm excited about your coaching business. I think you're made to do it, so don't forget that.
Thank you.
Yes, and this podcast is so enlightening. So thank you so much.
I hope so. And I hope everyone else thinks so too. So speaking of which, beyond listeners, we want to hear from you. So Pinkey, where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, so on Instagram, Dr. Pinkey Patel, you'll see all parts of my life. And then MyriHealth.com, Myri Health also has a page. And you can download the Myri Health app on the App Store. Pregnancy is free for all right now as we are beta testing all the new features. And then postpartum is also available in 175 countries. And it's going to be in Spanish soon only, but we are also going to market in a few other geographies that are not in America.
Amazing. We are going to post all of that in the podcast information page to make it easier for you guys to just go on there and click and follow Dr. Pinkey, follow Myri Health, download the app, whatever pertains to you. We want to hear from you. So don't be shy. DM me on @the_beyond podcast on Instagram. Comment, share this episode. We are trying to both build a community of women to empower, and we need your help. So share, talk about it, text it, blast it on social media, whatever y'all can do can really, really help. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As always, Beyond listeners, for being here, for taking the time to better yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining and spending your precious time here with me. As someone who prioritizes her energy, I am so grateful that you chose to spend yours here. To help me help you, please take an extra 30 seconds of your time to rate and review the podcast on your listening platform. For more tips and a behind-the-scenes look into my life, follow me on Instagram at Dr. Flora Sinha. That's Dr. Flora Sinha. Finally, connecting with you truly fills my cup. So DM me on Instagram, email me at florasinhamd@gmail.com, repost if you love this episode. I love hearing from you. I am so grateful for you and cannot wait to be back for the next episode. Bye.